Alright, so this is Elite Dangerous. It is a game that has... I am enraptured with this game. There's not a really good way to put it. This game is incredible. And this is why I'm kind of making a video about this. I'm not going to stream it because my computer is already a little lethargic to run this game as it is. So be it. The streamers won't get to see it, but you guys on YouTube can. So, a little introduction. Elite Dangerous is it's a little more than a spiritual sequel to Elite. Elite was a old computer game that came out originally back in 1984. Went through various versions on early PCs and other computers at the time. According to like the front, the same group has done a bunch of stuff since then, and this is kind of their most recent outing. It is a space simulator, or like a starship simulator, basically. If you've ever played Wing Commander Privateer, it's very much in the same vein, and I played a lot of Wing Commander Privateer back in the day. So naturally, when I saw some footage of someone playing this game, it made me interested, and I went and bought the game, and I have put so much time into this game in the last, let's say, month or so. So I just wanted to kind of go through this, go through a little bit, show off a few things, kind of show everybody how this game looks, how it works, and just kind of, I want people to play this game. So we are starting out on a, whoops, wrong thing. We are starting out in a space station. We are inside the hangar. In order to do outfitting on your ship, you need to be inside the hangar. Each space station has a different set of each space station has a set of services, and not every space station has every service. Here is my ship. It is a Cobra Mark III. Most of the ships, in fact a large number of the ships, are actually taken from the original Elite game and given nice 3D versions. You can see my chairs, you can see my cockpit pod. Each ship has 4 basic areas of stuff that you put on it. Hardpoints are weaponry. There's a good number of different selections. We're not going to find that many of them because we're on a tourism space station, and the things that are offered are definitely dependent on what kind of station you end up at. So on my ship right now I have 2 medium-sized pulse lasers and 2 small multi-cannons. You know, knock out their shields with the pulse lasers, then chew up their armor with the multi-cannon. So it seems pretty good. Oh, that's one thing to know. Each weapon has one of 3 different, I guess, types, at least for like cannon-type weapons. So the ones that I have are gimbaled. That means that they home in on the enemies slightly, but not over large ranges. In fact, the only stuff that they're selling here in cannons are gimbaled. What about missiles? Well, missiles obviously aren't gimbaled. But there are homing and non-homing missiles. There are torpedoes, which are heat-seeking, apparently. Yeah, so here's a mining laser on a turret, which means that it can basically go over the whole space that you can reach from the hard point where it is. And then you have these plasma accelerators are fixed mounts, so you have to actually aim really carefully. You might say, well, I just want the turrets because they'll target wherever, but the problem with turreted weapons is that they're, 1, a lot more expensive, 2, do a lot less damage than fixed or gimbaled mounts. Gimbaled mounts are kind of a mid-range compromise. I like them. They, you know, I have to point at the enemy to shoot them. So be it. Utility mounts. These are things that you kind of use on the side to help you out. They include, well, we can't see many of them here. We'll show those off at a different station where there's actually more stuff to show off. You got your core internal, armor, power plant, thrusters. The frameshift drive handles your hyperspace jumps and basically fast travel within a system. We've got life support, which gives you time to be not dead if your canopy gets blown out in combat, or if you run out of fuel. I've got a power distributor, I've got sensors, fuel tank. Those are all kind of... You have to have some version of them on the ship. So they have their own core internal things. But you can... You'll see that each point has a different size. It is certainly possible, under certain circumstances, to buy drives and stuff that are different sizes from what the size that you can fit is. Larger ships have larger points in general. A lot of detail there. Optional internal. This is where your ship really gets personalized in a way that actually affects gameplay. So my ship right now has a cargo rack, a passenger cabin, a shield generator, a small fuel scoop, a planetary vehicle hangar, and a frameshift drive interdictor, and a planetary approach suite. If you're playing Horizons, that's the expanded version of Elite that allows you to land on planets. Every ship has the planetary approach suite added on, and you can't do anything about it. It's just there. So there are a bunch of different types of missions in the game. We'll get to those in a minute. But in addition to missions, you can also pick up passengers and ferry them to various places in the galaxy. The planetary vehicle hangar lets me land on planets and basically drive a car around looking for minerals and stuff. Frameshift drive interdictor lets me pull people out of frameshift mode in system, which basically helps me take on bounties. There's livery, or livery, I don't know. It's like stuff to personalize your ship that doesn't affect gameplay. So, you know, you can choose your vessel voice, you can choose your paint job, you can change your ship name, ship ID, and you can add a bunch of, like, decals and stuff like that to the thing. It's pretty cool. It's all kind of paid add-ons, but they're not too expensive. I've bought a couple of little ones here and there. And then modules that you take off of ships can be stored in stations. But what station they're stored in is monitored, and your distance from the station determines how long it takes to transport it to the station you're in. So, kind of a nice... I will say that one of the great points of this game is its attention to detail. And this is a place where they paid attention to detail and made it a little bit inconvenient if you do weird things, but, you know, also gives you options to make things work how you want. So if I wanted to bring the Seeker missile rack to this station, it would take 19 minutes. It would cost about 500 credits. It doesn't cost too much, but it scales based on distance and based on the price of the thing that you're moving. The time scales by distance as well. So you can see I've got a bunch of stuff stored up. So be it. So one of the cool things about Elite is the large number of different commodities. Let's take a quick glance here. This is a tourism planet, so that will determine what things are in supply and what things are in demand. And you can see, I'm just going to kind of scroll through it, but you can see there's a large number of categories of items, and quite a few items in each category. We've got consumer items, food, legal drugs. There are illegal drugs as well. Depending on the system, certain drugs may be legal and certain other ones may be illegal. There are theocracies and stuff that forbid alcohol, things like that. Machinery, medicines, metals, minerals, ancient salvage, all kinds of neat stuff. In fact, you can even carry, yeah, check this out. Bio-waste. Sterilized, then used as a basic form of fertilizer on agricultural worlds. You can carry around fertilizer. It's lovely. At the mission board, you can pick up missions. Each station that you're going to land at is going to have up to 7 factions vying for control of that station, and they interact with each other. They have wars and elections, and they have booms and busts and all kinds of stuff. Outbreaks, quarantines, lockdowns, pirate attacks. There's a bunch of different stuff that can go on. And there's a bunch of different types of missions that you can do. You can do data delivery, where basically they put data on your ship's computer and you have to take it to some other place. They've got bring us this type of good. Each mission has unique and randomly generated, semi-randomly generated characteristics. So you can see that the recommended rank for this one is Tycoon. It exceeds my current rank. There may be hostile ships sent against me. It tells me where to go. You can generally choose up to 3 rewards for a mission, and sometimes if you do a poor job in the mission, they'll knock out some of the more desirable results there. So there's a lot going on. We've got some delivery of... So right now this faction is in a boom, so they have special boom time delivery missions that I can take. It's like 6 units of hydrogen fuel. Like, come on. Don't waste my time. We've got... oh, yeah. Some missions may not be available because you're not friendly enough with the factions, so you can gain familiarity with all the factions by doing missions for them, or by knocking out people that they have bounties on, and bringing those bounty chips in. But, like, yeah, there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. Stealth missions, special ops to knock out groups of enemies, assassinations, massacres of enemy ships. You know, there's even stuff where you have to, like, find and salvage stuff in some area. There are illegal and legal missions offered. Mining missions, salvage missions, all kinds of cool stuff. Here's the passenger lounge. And here you'll find both VIPs and non-VIP passengers who you can ferry around the galaxy. Each passenger has, you know, unique characteristics. The characteristics determine their passenger traits, and you know you can find out. Okay, so this Rain Murphy wants to go to Kahina Lauren found guilty, which must be some place in the Prism system, 68 light years out. You know, so hypothetically, I could put her on board and her entourage, and we'd go see that. We've got scientists that are trying to collect data. We've got tourists seeking transport, business persons, aid workers, refugees. So you can kind of roleplay a little bit. Like, you know, my character kind of likes helping scientists out, so I do a lot of transports of scientist missions, you know, medical officers, that kind of stuff, aid workers. So that's really cool. You have to have the right stuff on your ship in order to do that. You've got contacts, which allow you to pay in bounty vouchers, trade dividends, intel packages, all kinds of stuff like that. Black markets. This is kind of cool. Search and rescue agent. You can find in, you know, quote-unquote random encounters out in space, you can find wrecked ships that have, you know, debris that you can pick up. And some of that debris is useful for people trying to do search and rescue. So, like, you can find black boxes, you can find wreckage components, you can find escape pods, you can find political prisoners, hostages, damaged escape pods. And you can hand them in here for a nice monetary incentive. Not going to be much here in cartographics. I took my sensors off of this ship because I figured I'm not going to be using them that much. But if you fly around and gather data on star systems, you can actually bring it to places and sell the data. And you can actually make decent cash that way. I mean, 100 and some thousand is not chicken scratch. I actually just recently had a ship that had like a couple of million credits worth of data on it from scanning a bunch of planets as I was doing some long passenger missions. And my ship I got into a fight with a couple of pirates and my ship got destroyed and I lost all of that data before I could sell it. You can even get crew members to add onto your ship. AI crew members, or if you're playing in open play or with friends, you can have them join your crew, or you can join their crew. GalaxyNet is kind of cool. It has a bunch of news stuff, and it's all kind of procedurally generated, but it additionally has material that's produced by the game company, including like a podcast-like thing that basically describes Galaxy News this week. We've got the HoloMe, which is a system that lets you make a holographic version of your pilot. In fact, it lets you make a bunch of different ones. You can save and load various ones. This is the HoloMe that I created. This green coat is it wasn't too expensive. It was like $5 or something like that to get a bunch of these Wayfarer outfits. The glasses were free. I don't know, the way I've made him, he kind of reminds me a little bit of the guy who starred in Jaws. I can't ever remember that actor's name, but it kind of reminds me of him a little, like if you look at the portrait especially. Anyway, so that's kind of what you're gonna see in an area. Each system can be part of the giant power play game that goes on, which basically is like player participation in giant factions. It's pretty cool. Now, so each system has a map, and these are all procedurally generated too, but they're persistent, so it's not like it changes. This system has a white dwarf star, and it has a bunch of planets and a bunch of star systems and a bunch of stuff going on. I don't know what this symbol means. I gotta figure it out. But yeah, you can see planets that you can land on. You can zoom in on them. You can see that there's a back silo ++. The ++ usually refers to, I think, the security level. Then you've got the Coulter Beacon, the Cartier Relay, and Pike Observatory ++. And if you land on the planet, you can run around and here's the materials that you're likely to find. It's pretty cool, actually. In addition to the different types of cargo that you can pick up, you can pick up things called materials. And some of these will be manufactured, some of them will be natural stuff. You know, so you can see I've got, you know, some arsenic, but I've also got basic conductors, a bunch of carbon, chemical storage units, all kinds of stuff. They all have different levels of rarity, as you can see by the grade. So higher grade is better. But you can also pick up aberrant data if you do scans of ships as you're flying around, or if you find special encounters, you can pick up this stuff. All of this is generally used for engineering. Engineers will upgrade your modules if you give them these materials and also do some stuff. So as you can see, my thrusters here have a little hexagon next to them. That means that I have upgraded them. I've got clean drive tuning, which reduces, which gives me better thermal handling and performance, but increases power draw and mass requirements. And then strip down, which helps to reduce mass. You know, I've got my power distributor has been engineered. You can see my status here. So you've got ranks in different things. You know, your combat rank, your merchant rank, your explorer rank, your CQC rank. Actually, I haven't tried the CQC arena yet, but you know, maybe later. Engineers. Engineers are kind of cool. Basically, you start out the game, you get a little bit of information on a few engineers, then in order to get them to invite you to see them, you have to do something. So here's an example of Celine Jean here, only works with miners. I have to mine 500 tons of resources before she'll even invite me to see her. Lei Chung invited me, but before he'll work with me, he wants me to bring him 200 tons of gold. Yikes! But these three guys, I've both, yeah, so she wanted me to get 300 light years away from my starting point and then give her 3 units of Soontil relics. Todd wanted me to earn a bunch of bounty vouchers and then give him 100,000 credits worth of bounty vouchers. So they all have different requirements, and some of them are difficult and some of them are pretty easy. So I went to them, I upgraded the stuff that they will upgrade. You can see those parts listed here. Very cool. Very, very cool. So we saw the system map. Let's take a look at the star map. You remember how I said this game is all about attention to detail? Each one of these star systems is a system that you can visit. So I can go to LHS 3947. It has an economy of industrial and extraction. Its government type is democracy. It has 8.2 million people. It's allied with the Federation. Its star class is a K class. By the way, I'm a physicist, and when I see games use real science things moderately well, it's always a joy. All of the units of measure in this game are basically SI units. You know, thousands of kilograms, i.e. tons. You've got all of your distances are measured in meters or in light times. So light seconds and light years are very common measurement sets. But you're like, okay, so, you know, it's a star map, whatever. Big freaking deal, right? I can go to, there's probably, what, a few hundred systems, something like that? No big deal, right? Yeah, what I'm going to show you right now is something that I did once, and it blew my mind. Because here we're going to zoom out. All right, zooming out, zooming out, zooming out. Oh, that's a lot of systems. But they seem to all end, right? No, they don't actually end. It's just that it only shows you systems in a certain radius around the point that you're looking at. You can see that I've already bookmarked and visited a bunch of other places further out. But it's like, well, I mean, come on, like this is getting ridiculous, right? But then you just keep zooming out, and you keep zooming out, and you keep zooming out, and you keep zooming out until you get to a total map of the freaking Milky Way. This blew my mind the first time I saw it. I'm like, well, I mean, come on. I mean, it's not like there's anything here, right? But then I zoomed back in, and I was like, come on. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. What are you... What? Oh my god. There are supposedly 600 billion star systems to visit. And supposedly it's modeled after some, you know, parts of it at least are modeled after data of the actual Milky Way. But like you can see here, we've got FLYU FHT A44-4. It's 41,000 light years away, and it is a brown dwarf star. I could fly there if I wanted to. It'd be a little difficult because the largest route that you can have your system produce is a 20,000 light year route, but it's totally doable. Also, you'll notice that I can adjust my route selections by choosing the amount of cargo that I have in the ship. Yes, my jump range changes depending on how many tons of cargo I have, which can change your route. If you're carrying cargo somewhere to drop it off, it can have you take a different route on the way out than the way back. Jet cone boost is for white dwarfs and neutron stars. You can get a nice distance boost on your what do you call it? You can get a nice distance boost on your jumps with those, but it's kind of dangerous, and I try to avoid it whenever I can, at least for now. But yeah, there's a lot of options. Oh, that's what that means. It's a repairing starport. Okay, interesting. That means that they need materials, and they'll probably pay extra for the right materials, titanium and stuff like that. But there's a lot of different things that you can... So I'm going to just... Oh, clicked on... Okay, I'm going to click on... I'm gonna exit out and then hop back in. And there we are, back centered on myself. So you can actually... There's a lot of options for the map. Like, you can tell what kind of civilization they have, if any. You can see what kind of government they have. There's a lot of different possibilities. Some are more common than others, but there's a lot going on. Basically, when I say this game has attention to detail, I freaking mean it. Oh, by the way, here's the power play map right now. And as you can see, human occupation is only a tiny, tiny fraction of... No, I didn't want to zoom in. Human occupation is only a tiny, tiny fraction of the galaxy. Tiny. So this is where you're going to find people, and everywhere outside you're going to find, well, maybe something else. Anyway, so let's actually go let's actually do some flying. So we're going to go back into the map, and I'm going to go to oh, I don't want power play anymore. We're going to go to the place where my Asp Explorer is locked in Limbava. We're going to plot the route, and we're going to exit. All right. So now we're going to return to the surface. Basically, they garage your ship for you when you're either changing the outfit or, you know, when you save your game. And you'll see there's trees over in the distance there. And you'll see that there's like a little radar thing there. I'm going to select launch. You can set up active alternate flight controls, which allow you to basically... Yeah, so this is a tourism place, so as you can see, the interior is very decked out with all kinds of nice stuff. We're going to go to a system that is a high-tech system, and you'll see that the interior of the thing is a lot more dimly lit, but also a lot more technologically interesting looking. So we're on our way out. That speed there is measured in meters per second. If you go too fast, you're speeding, and from what I understand, it It's not actually like an actual crime in the game, but it does seem to affect how much attention you get from authorities. But everybody does it, so don't worry about it. So I had to retract my landing gear, and I raised my throttle, and I selected the path that I'm choosing here. Based on the path, I've got 5 jumps to Limbava, and I gotta get far enough away from this thing that I'm not mass locked anymore, and so that I can see the place I'm jumping to. If the place you're jumping to is obscured, oh, by the way, we're gonna take a look here real quick. If the place you're jumping to is obscured, you can't jump there. So you have to get it in sight. It can't be obscured by a planet or a star, and you have to be far enough away from any large masses. And as you can see, yeah, we've got, it looks like it's nighttime there, but we've got a couple of lights here, farmlands basically. Pretty common for this type of space station, and this type of, yeah, for this type of space station, tourist and the ring type space station. So, yeah, you can see that the little blue thing on my fuel thing all the way down in the lower right is how much fuel it's going to cost me to make this jump. Now, the interesting thing is that fuel is not consumed linearly as you increase your distance. It's actually consumed exponentially. So, this 19.4 light year takes most of the fuel that I can use in one jump. But like a small jump, like a 7 light year jump, will take almost none. It's kind of a neat system that prevents you from just like basically loading up things as much as possible and just taking the longest jumps possible. It's actually way more economical sometimes to take a few smaller jumps. This is kind of a cool screen. It's basically a loading screen, but it looks kind of cool, and it usually doesn't take very long. I've had some of them last 10 seconds. Not a big deal. You always drop out of lock. By the way, those stars, I think, are actual realistic stars in the game that I just happen to not be landing at. We have my fuel scoop. Fuel scooping is moderately dangerous. It basically depends on how close you are to the star, and it also depends on what your orientation with respect to the star is. You'll see the discover new signal source. That's a random encounter, but it's not really much. There's not really much point. Okay, I'm kind of overstepping myself. I actually recorded this video a couple days ago, and kind of, how do I put this? It didn't actually record my voice, so yeah, I have to redo this. So I'm just going to show you guys another really cool attention to detail. We're really close to the star, right? It's like, let's just kind of point at it. It's like, where's the star? There's the star. We're really close, and its brightness is so much that it is kind of obscuring the stars, almost as if it was daytime, you know, and you're just outside, right? I'm going to pick a random direction, and I'm just going to bring my throttle up, and we're going to watch as I get further away from the star. We're going to watch the star field come into view. It's beautiful. There's the Milky Way. I mean, that is attention to detail that I've never seen in a space game ever. That they dynamically affect the brightness of the view of the star field depending on how far away you are from a star. And it's beautiful. Just beautiful. Alright. So I showed that off. It took me, like, I didn't notice that happening until just recently. Like, a few days ago, I noticed it. Actually, let's check out a random encounter. Let's see what this is. Ceremonial comms. Probably like a wedding or something. Not too interesting. I'll try to show you guys some combat, too. But, like, you can actually play the game in such a way that you almost never actually have to do combat. Like, piracy is... It's not like, you know, a shooter where, like, every jump you're gonna get into a fight with a couple of guys. By the way, I'm playing in solo play, but you can also play in open player with friends in the game. One thing that's a little weird about the jump thing is that you have to have the throttle up at full to actually make the jump. But then when you... immediately once you start the countdown, you almost always want to throttle back, because if you go to full throttle like this, you're just going to slam into the sun. Don't want to do that. This is an unknown place. As you can see, the stars don't show up on my radar. I got rid of my stellar object scanner, and so I am a little bit in the dark here, for what it's worth.
Fuel scoop disengaged.
And there's my fuel scoop. Okay, so it looks like the place I'm headed is obscured by the star, so I'm gonna have to go around the star. We got a dude here in an orca. Paul Stevens.
Fuel scoop disengaged.
Yeah, he's clean. And there's Wolf 69? 59? So you'll notice that okay, so here's my throttle over to the right of my radar. And it's actually pretty cool. Your maneuverability is highest in that blue zone. And in fact, if you're in frame shift and you just go to full throttle, you will usually overshoot what you're trying to get to.
Frame shift drive charging.
So managing your speed is actually kind of important. It keeps you busy on long trips out. It's kind of cool. You'll notice that the rectangles on my radar are all filled. That means those are NPCs.
Ready to engage.
Throttle up.
4, 3, 2, 1.
If you see empty rectangles, those are actual other players. You won't see any of those in this playthrough just because I'm on solo play. So be it. The game's pretty interesting if you avoid the what do you call it? If you avoid the faction stuff, the game is set up in such a way that you actually are strongly discouraged from PvPing people, or at least under certain circumstances. But once you start joining the factions, things get interesting. I haven't joined a faction yet. You can join them for short times, you can join them for long times. There's a lot of rules to it. It's kind of complicated, but it looks really interesting.
Frame shift drive charging.
We're almost back. I'm hoping that I'll find some nice random encounters to show you guys. Yeah, the starfield comes brighting in. Oh, so by the way, there's something really interesting that happens. If you're playing with a friend...
Ready to engage.
Okay. If you're playing with a friend, you can do voice chat. And they actually go to the trouble of putting, like, comm static over your voice chat. And that comm static gets worse when you're jumping. It's...
3, 2, 1.
Attention to detail. It's beautiful. This area is inhabited, so it probably has a nav beacon. If you're in an inhabited space chunk of space, then you can visit the nav beacon to get all the data downloaded at once. That's what we're going to do just real quick, just to kind of show it off. Usually there's a lot of ships around the nav beacon, and we can kind of take a look at some of them. Maybe even find a bounty. So you can buy multiple ships and store them at different space stations. Just like with modules, you can move them between space stations, but it costs money and it costs time. What have we got going on here? Weapons fire detected, threat 2. So if you bring friends along, you can have them join your wing and work with them. So far, it seems to me like threat 2 is pretty risky for my ship, even though it's pretty decked out for Cobra 3. So we're gonna try to avoid anything where I just get horribly murdered with no... Yeah, we're gonna avoid getting murdered. How about that? We're gonna try. Got a convoy dispersal pattern. Threat 4. Yeah, no thank you. There are 4 threat levels generally, and they ramp up pretty quickly. as a lone fighter, it can be very difficult to actually take on more than one ship at a time, especially since a lot of times there will be ships with turrets, and they can shoot you basically no matter what angle you are from them, unless you're like right behind them for some ships. It's combat is interesting in this game, I will say that. We're about to land at the Nav Beacon, or not land, but show up at the Nav Beacon. And we'll just kind of slow down on things. So there's a Nav Beacon. I'm going to scan it real quick. That'll give me information on the system. And then we'll kind of target some people and look at their ships. It takes about 10 seconds, so just bear with me. There it is.
Alright, scan detected.
So I'm being scanned probably by... So here's a Cobra Mark III. He's 7 kilometers out. That's not so great. Let's find someone a little closer. Here is a... Uh-oh. Oh no. Spawn of Cressy. You're not the one I'm looking for, he says. So, it's kind of interesting. Pirates will not always attack you. If you don't have any, bounty on you, or if you have no bounty on you, then like bounty hunters will ignore you. If you if you don't have any cargo, a lot of times pirates will just ignore you. They don't gain anything by shooting you down, so why would they bother? There are what's the word? There are definitely issues with that. Let's look at this guy's ship. Yeah, it's just like all the ships. There's a lot of different types of ships. There's actually like 30 different ships that you can pilot in this game, and there's even more than that. There's a few ships that you can't pilot. Not that many actually, which is a little surprising. I'm gonna keel back here. David Humphreys, he's an expert. He's clean. 2 new contacts. Got that serious security guy. We got another serious security guy. We got another Cobra Mark III. He's mostly harmless. He's clean. There's that spawn of Cressy guy. Let's scan him. I bet he has a bounty on him. That money. No, he's clean. That's amazing. But yeah, he's in the Diamondback Scout. All the ships are different. Some of them have similar design thoughts. If you'll notice those blue things on my info panel, by scanning some of these ships, I have gotten information that basically serves as materials over here in my in my data chunk here. You can do synthesis to improve your frameshift drive, to make new ammunition, to refuel your SRV. You have to set up fire groups so that you can control various things all at the same time. The ship has functions, a lot of different stuff. It has a distress beacon, it has a cargo scoop, it has landing gear. You can select factions in warring areas. It has silent running, which is kind of cool. Let's show that off real quick. Ooh. It kills your shields.
Silent running.
It kills your shields and it turns off your heat dissipation. So you can see that my temperature over there, 39, 42, whatever, is increasing, but it also knocks out your sensor.
Thermal signature restored.
It knocks out your signature, so that people can't pick you up on sensors as easily. Supposedly it can be useful in CQC. I haven't seen a lot of use for it in the actual game. I have exterior lights. There's flight assist. You can change your turret weapon mode. You can even, I'll show you guys the pre-flight checks, it's kind of cute. You can automatically report crimes. You can show orbit lines. You can display the clock. You can even self-destruct your ship. We won't be doing that.
Shields online.
Here's my targeting panel. Apparently this game is set up to work with a VR headset. I don't have one, so I haven't tried it. But like, apparently you can just kind of like look left and right and see these things going on. But like, yeah, you can see there's a bunch of stuff going on, a bunch of things to like land at, basically, if you want to. Lots of data. Here's your message thing. You can do messaging. You can do specific messaging to like friends. I'm in solo mode, so those are both empty. Here's commanders that I've seen, that is to say human players. Here is my email inbox, which includes things like, hey, this faction likes you better, this faction likes you less good, here's a mission for you. Stuff like that. And here's some basic stuff. And this panel allows me to do some basic controls, including deploying the SRV when I'm on a planet's surface. In fact, I will show that off. Why not? Let's find a planet to land on. All right, easy peasy. What do we got? Rocky world, rocky world, rocky world. They're all rocky, so we'll just pick one at random. Select it as my destination. Point in the proper direction. And fire up my frameshift
drive charging.
So this is interesting. Going just to frameshift, that is to say, like semi-fresh travel within system, is faster than going to a jump. And so you can be in situations where you're really close to a star and you fall out of hyperspace, or you fall out of frameshift, and you want to do a hyperspace jump, but it's actually more reasonable for you to do a jump in a frameshift drive first, because it takes less time and you're less likely to overheat. If you overheat, you take damage, systems can get damaged, you can have malfunctions, all kinds of stuff like that. Anyway, we're on our way to Baldur 4B. It is a small rocky planet that we can land on. It is 2,400 light seconds out. And as you can see, at this rate of speed, we'll be there in about 2 minutes. Kind of unfortunate, but because you have to do an acceleration and a deceleration, that timer is not really useful, you know, in the long run. What I find it useful for is timing my slowdown. So, as I'm approaching Baldur 4B, that time will slowly drop, and I'll keep going faster and faster, basically, and at some point I'll have to slow down a little bit. There's a signal source. Gotta be something interesting to see. Avoid dispersal pattern. Threat 4. Yeah, no thank you. Oh, is it Baldur 4B? I guess I can just pick D, it's closer. By a little bit. So, what I find works is that when I see that timer get down to about 8 to 10 seconds, I will pull my throttle down to the lower end of the blue stuff. And that works pretty well. I would say it's not 100% foolproof, because I've certainly overshot stuff doing this. What can affect it is if there's a large... Some of the names are ridiculous. Cool hip dude. I've been killed by Warren Buffett in this game. NPC. Dr. Forster. So I'm not really finding any signal source. It's only 50 light years out. Where is it? I passed it, but not by a lot. Check it out. Oh, another convoy pattern. Threat 2. Ignore. I'll just get my butt kicked in a Threat 2. Or it's... I've survived Threat 2s before, but it can be very hit or miss. Come on. Hey, you see I'm playing with my throttle a little bit to try to see if I can get in there without going too slow, but without going too fast also. Signal source. What do we got? Convoy dispersal pattern. Threat 0. Let's check it out. Convoy dispersal, threat 0. I mean, why not, right? Maybe something else will show up on our way there. So generally speaking, in order to drop out a frameshift drive, you have to be within a certain distance and going less than a certain speed for a given place. The minimums for those are 1,000,000 meters and 1,000,000 meters per second. But there's some kind of algorithm that changes them depending on like how fast you're going at the time sometimes or something like that. Like for the random encounters, if you're going really fast, it doesn't make you slow all the way down. As you can see, my speed is going down, but I'm not touching the throttle. That's because... So there's actually a nice little bit of science fiction around the frameshift drive. Basically, the idea is that it's bending space around you and making it so that you are not actually moving superluminally locally, but from a distant observer, you seem to be going superluminally because you're moving from point to point in a very curved space. Locally curved space. And so the fiction behind it is that if space is curved for another reason, your frameshift drive doesn't work as well. And so you have to and so you end up going slower if that's what happens. So we've scanned these guys and they're all clean. Close to other ships, they will slow down the operation of my frameshift drive, which is kind of a neat thing for a couple of reasons. One is that it makes it hard to jump out during combat, and two is that charging the frameshift drive generates a huge amount of heat, and you can overheat if your frameshift drive has to charge for too long. It's a pretty nice little system. Okay, I think I'm gonna slam into this planet, which I kind of am. Just, I'm going to do it a little more controlled than that. Come on. Conflict zones. Yeah. Alright, let's land on Balder 4D. I'd like to show you guys the SRV and mineral searches on planet surfaces. It's actually pretty detailed, so let's take a quick look. So here my orbital flight monitor shows up as soon as I get close enough to the planet. Once I get below a certain altitude, I go into orbital flight, I get an angle altimeter. As I continue to approach the planet, eventually I will drop out a frameshift drive, and if you angle yourself right, you go into a glide, and that glide allows you to go really fast, relatively fast for the last few seconds of flight before you get really close to the surface. So we're going to try to aim for that. I'm going to go down at about 35 degrees, and we are going to watch our speed drop, and then we're going to drop out of orbital cruise in about a second, and into glide. Now, I love that sound. My hull is creaking. It's beautiful. We are completing our glide. Now, the trick is to get to an altitude of somewhere between like 2 and 4 kilometers. And then what you do is you zoom out your sensor suite, and you just kind of fly around a little bit. You'll find these blue circles. I'm going to go as fast as I can. There's a blue circle right there. It just showed up. So I'm gonna bring my altitude down to around 2 kilometers. So if I go below 2 kilometers, the circle will vanish. My sensors won't pick up anomalies anymore. It's a neat little game thing that makes you go, you know, kind of up and down to find stuff on planets. And, you know, if it keeps you busy, then it's kind of like a game, right? And I say this is a simulation, and I kind of mean it. Like, things in the game aren't designed to be convenient. Yeah, you see it just disappeared off my radar. Things in the game aren't designed necessarily to be convenient. They're designed to have a surprisingly large amount of realism to them. So I threw up my landing gear. You'll notice that my speed went down. You lose about 50% of your speed whenever you either open up your cargo scoop or your landing gear. I'm going way too fast still. So I need to find suitable terrain. And it looks like I'm over what the game thinks is suitable terrain. You have to get your attitude right, and so one cool thing is that you have alternate flight controls that you can set up. So I'm just going to kind of get real close. I'm going to change my attitude again. I have my alternate flight control set up to kind of operate like the Apollo spacecraft or something. That's directional thrusters instead of a throttle. So, you may have noticed that my module for my planetary vehicle hangar was turned off. I'm doing that to save power. You'll notice that it consumes 5% of my power if it's on, but if it's off, and most of the time I'm not using it, I'm going to turn it on. It has a boot up time. Attention to detail. It's beautiful. Alright, now we can deploy the Scarab. And again, we're going to see some beautiful attention to detail. The Scarab gets dropped out of the center of the ship. Hopefully we don't get trapped under the center of the ship, because sometimes you do. The wheels come out. It's amazing.
Low gravity warning.
And then we got a low gravity warning. And actually it looks like this is pretty good. So we're going to kind of look around. You see the thing right above my radar? That is your wave scanner. That allows you to find stuff in the area. There should be something somewhere for me to find, considering that this was an anomaly zone. Usually it's materials, but depending on what it is, it may be it looks like I'm just picking up my own ship. Oh no, wait, there's something. So you can see that I'm picking up my own ship. You can also see that I'm picking up some stuff down at the bottom there. Those, if it only fills the bottom, my experience is that those are usually minerals. As you get closer, the thing takes on less wide of an angular spread. It's kind of backwards, right? Like the further away you are, the wider the angular spread of the signal. And the closer in you are, the more narrow and stronger it is. So we're going to go get some minerals. Oh, by the way, something you can do here. I am going to dismiss the ship.
Ship dismissed.
And the ship will fly away and go off into nowhere land where nobody can shoot at it, hopefully. Yes, pirates can attack you even on the surface of planets and things like that, so move at your own risk. Plus I can call the ship back and it'll land somewhere closer to where I'm at after I find these minerals. One thing to note, I'm just going to slow down real quick. There are audio cues as well as visual cues on the wave scanner. it's again, attention to detail is is the name of the game, and they do a really good job. Careful, careful. And so like there's all this, you know, it seems to, from what I can tell, it seems like you can only land on these kind of rocky or metallic core planets. Oh, I got a signal. 2 signals. An outcrop. Oh, 3 signals. Wow, there's a lot of minerals here. I will not complain too much. I'll get them from left to right. Or right to left, I guess. That's what I meant. So this is kind of cool. I'm going to slow down. Basically, the way that you mine minerals on planet surfaces is you shoot these outcrops, and then a bunch of pieces of stuff fly out. You then bring out your cargo scoop and basically run over them. You have to, so one thing that kind of irritates me is that you have to target a thing in order to pick it up. You won't pick it up otherwise. Also, the controls here can be really floating because of the low gravity. So this game actually models having low traction when you are on a low gravity planet. Oh, tellurium, undiscovered. Alright, new item. Chromium. Grab some cadmium. Alright. Oh! Yeah, if you're in low gravity and you try to turn too fast, you will spin out. Badly. Other things. It has thrusters. Can help you get out of difficult, like rocky areas, or just float over them. Basically, you can control the distribution of power for your different systems in this. You can do that in the ship too. Haven't shown that off yet, but we'll do it in a minute. Probably in combat. I'm gonna grab all this stuff. Yeah, if I can. There's some manganese. So another cool thing about this game is that it does a surprisingly good. No, I don't want the outcrop. It does a surprisingly good job of keeping your tracks. I was actually running around on a planet one time, and as I flew away, I could see all of the tracks that my ship left, that my whatchamacallit, SRV left as I was, like grabbing minerals and stuff. It was really cool to see my tracks as I flew away. I must admit that was a really nice feeling. It kind of made me feel like I'd actually done something on the planet, you know? Left my footprints behind. In a very real sense. Okay, we got one more outcrop over here. So it's not just minerals that you'll find here, you'll also find other stuff like, pirate treasure and stuff like that. Those can be kind of scary because things will attack you, and you might die. Death is not too scary in this game. You basically respawn at a nearby place, and you have to pay an insurance fee to restore your ship. Or if you go completely bankrupt, they basically take everything you have, and you start over with the Sidewinder that you start out with in the game. So, try not to go bankrupt. I try to have a couple of quantities of the insurance fee on me at all times. It makes getting blown up by a pirate not nearly as big a deal. And it happens. So there's our minerals that were nearby. We've got a little signal out over here. I wonder if it's a ship or if it's a ground base or something. We're going to try to head toward it and see if we find anything interesting. If it's a ship, then it might vanish suddenly. That's happened to me quite frequently. I don't know, maybe we'll actually find something interesting.
Scoop retracted.
Retract my cargo scoop. Oh, and by the way, there's different music that shows up when you're on a planet compared to when you're not on a planet. It's really amazing. Oh, and your thingamajig here has limited fuel. So, like, in theory, it's possible for me to screw up and get stranded out here with no fuel. And I will die. Anything interesting that isn't just like an outcrop. Maybe? By the way, the music in this game is wonderful. For a game where you spend most of your time by yourself in the middle of nowhere, the music is kind of calm, but a little mournful, with a nice kind of sci-fi touch to it. I enjoy it very much. There are a lot of minerals over here. But I'm really more interested in like a ship or a pirate stash or something. So you can find down ships, all kinds of stuff, really. They give you enough things to do in this game that even though it's a sim, you know, it stays interesting, even if you play single player. What's that? Outcrop? I'm not gonna worry about that for now. I want to see what this other thing on my wave scanner is. Is it a ship? Is it pirate treasure? It's gotta be something. It's too big a signal for it to be nothing. Oh, and you'll notice that when I shot those outcrops, that the stuff flew out and kind of fell very slowly. They actually modulate gravity depending on what planet you're on, so to speak. In a fairly realistic way. Oh, I can see it on my radar. You see the little red rectangle? That is a trespassing zone. And I probably can't do anything about that, so I'll just get a bounty on my head. But we're gonna look at it. What's there? Come on. Show me something cool. You You can actually find like little installations and stuff, which is kind of neat. Whoop. Yeah. So these things are, for lack of a better word, they're sentry drones, basically. Stop. Sentry skimmer. There's a few of them too. We got nerve agents. Legal salvage, though, it says. So old. Is it hostile? Can I tell? Gosh, I don't know. Oh, they are
under attack. Under attack.
Gotta get away. They are about to take my shields out.
Under attack.
Yeah, I see it. Or feel it, or hear it, or something. So those are criminal skimmers. That means we can take them out with impunity and grab some cargo.
Under attack.
The turret is really bad.
Under attack.
They don't pack a lot of punch, but they...
Under attack.
Another one down.
Target destroyed.
Another one down.
Target destroyed.
Alright, 3 skimmers down. We got some legal salvage. Break out my cargo
Cargo
scoop.
scoop deployed. Warning. You have entered a trespass zone.
Yeah. Legal salvage.
Cargo hold at maximum capacity.
Alright, my cargo bay is full. But this means that this is a perfect place for me to...
Trespass zone cleared.
yeah.
Cargo scoop retracted.
This is an absolute perfect place for me to call the ship back.
Ship recalled.
So what we can do is we can transfer cargo back onto the ship. And then come back here, get some more stuff, etc., etc., etc. Come on. There it is. Where is it going to land? There it is. Alright, so I am heading... My bearing is 120 to the ship from the stuff. So that means my bearing back will be about 300 degrees. The ship usually lands about half a kilometer from you, or a little more. So that can be a little irritating, but, you know. Or something over there. I don't care too much about it. So what I'm actually going to do, just to save myself time, is I'm going to get back to my ship. Come on. There's a very narrow space that you can actually get back on your ship. I'm going to transfer this cargo back to my ship. And then I'm going to board the ship. And I'm going to fly it in a little closer. Land really near the bronzite chondrite. I'm not too worried about that. Just some minerals. I want the cargo. So here's how we're going to run this. And we are engaging our drives. Need to head to heading 320. Or 300, actually. Increase my altitude a little bit. There's 300. All right. I'm going to go back to regular flight controls. I'm just going to skim a couple 100 meters over the surface until I find that cargo again. It's going to be right around here somewhere. It should show up on my radar. My landing gear are going to complain. If it were... There's my external lights. Certain planets you can see your tracks better than others.
Landing gear retracted.
Let's retract those landing gear. Find it again? I feel like I've gone way too far. Also, we've got a transporter. Man. If I can't find it again... Huh. It either despawned or something. 'Cause I don't see it. I've done this before and it's worked, but it looks like this time maybe I got too, it's really irritating that I can't set up like a waypoint or something. At least I haven't figured out how yet. It's possible. It might be that I can set up a waypoint. I just don't know how. So, you know, maybe we'll figure it out some other time. In any case, I don't see Federal assault ship, the Hades. Man, I really don't see it. Oh well. I guess we got some cargo. You hear my hull creaking. Huh. Alright, looks like this stuff either despawned or I lost track of it somehow. Oh, actually, here's another little attention to detail. Anti-gravity thrusters are preferentially placed on the bottom of the ship. If I turn like this, and I'm not careful, if I give myself some forward thrust, I will actually start to, well, I've had it happen before where you can drop. Because the thrusters on the top of your ship are not designed to fight actual gravity. On this tiny moon, probably not an issue. That's too bad. I guess I missed out on some cargo. Oh well.
Landing gear deployed. Landing gear retracted.
So we're going to get out of this place. And we're going to see the blue thing come back. But we'll leave it. Whatever. It's fine. I showed that off enough. We're good. We're not mass locked anymore, so I'm going to hop into space. Frameshift drive. We're going to set up on... You have to point at the escape vector. Basically straight up.
2, 1. Engage.
And then you got to fly out enough. So you may have noticed that Limbava is a dotted line circle. That means that it's obscured by the planet. That means that I'm going to have to basically go around the planet before I can actually jump to Limbava. So we're going to have to go around the planet. I'm going to keep going up because the higher up I go, the faster my top speed becomes. I've got my throttle pegged to full 100%, but because I'm so close to the planet, my top speed is not really that high. It's increasing though. I'm now going 40 kilometers a second, 50, and so on. Oh, signal source. What do we got? Convoy pattern. Nuts to you. There's Limbava. It is visible. Let's head in.
Frameshift drive charging.
Yeah, so that's only a 10 light year jump, and you can see it's taking a very tiny amount of fuel, as compared to the 19, which took like 4 times as much. So there, you can make a choice between economical and fast routes.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Alright, so we're gonna kind of close up here. I'm gonna show you guys the shipyard at Goldstein Port, and then we'll close up for the night. So I've already got Goldstein Port targeted because I selected it as part of my route, and so we're gonna head in. I've kind of been using Goldstein Port as like a home port. I've got 3 ships there. Counting this one that I'm currently using. Here's Combat Aftermath. Okay, we're going to check this out. These are usually safe. Sometimes you get a couple of pirates that jump in to bother you. We're going to see what happens. So one small issue is that like you can see that that planet on my radar is obscuring the ones digit of my speed. It can be a little irritating sometimes. Let's drop in. These can be really cool looking. It's basically a giant debris field. And, you know, they usually drop a few materials around. So you can go so fast that your cargo scoop won't work. So you got to get under about 40 meters per second for your cargo scoop to work effectively. Some of these debris fields are really beautiful, like just like, you know, battle damage stuff. You can see that those are still glowing, and I bumped into that. Dang it. Yeah, you can see that the damage on that eagle is still glowing. It's pretty cool looking. Sometimes the damage is from these huge ships, and there's just this giant debris field. And sometimes you'll even find like rescue ships that are working to try to. And I'm going too fast somehow. Okay, I'm doing really poorly here. Probably because I'm trying to talk to you guys, so I'm going to just be quiet and focus on this for a couple of minutes. We'll get it. Whoa! That's funny. Collisions don't do too much damage in this game. Unless it's with the ground planet, in which case it can kill you, and the NPCs will laugh at you. Yes, the NPCs will laugh at you. Whoa, 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 whoa. That's all goofed up. Come on. I want to show you guys some combat, actually, so maybe I'll just float around in the area until I find a combat thing. Yeah, collecting these materials is useful because these materials are what engineers use to upgrade your stuff. And since you will probably want to upgrade your stuff with engineers, well, you're going to need to grab some materials. There are some starports that have materials trading. They'll either trade raw materials for other raw materials or manufacture for other manufacturer, similar. The trading is not very efficient in the sense that you spend a lot to get very little. But it is useful to pick up, like, to kind of even things out a little bit. Like if I have, you know, 200 of something and 10 of something that's one level more expensive, then I can kind of help get myself a few of the useful things. Another thing that's a little irritating is you have to target the thing in order to pick it up on your cargo scoop. You can't just fly through a bunch of stuff and pick up a bunch of things. So, if you try to frame shift with your cargo scoop out, it does not like it.
Cargo scoop retracted.
Target Goldstein port. And we will frame shift out.
Drive charging. 4, 3, 2, 1. Engage.
I want to show you guys combat, so we're just gonna kind of slow down and look for combat. Well, another thing is that it seems like pirates spawn more frequently the more expensive your cargo is. That's Federal Security Service, he's not gonna help me. So green stuff means that you're friendly with you're friendly with them, so there it is. Unidentified signal source. Combat aftermath. Dang it! This game is not complying. I love the real units. light seconds and millions of meters and thousands of meters and stuff. It's so cool. Oh, signal source. What's this? Yes! Yes! Alright, you get to see combat. I'm gonna pull out my kill warrant scanner. So, a lot of ships you'll find a single bounty on when you scan it, but generally speaking, if you have a kill warrant scanner, you can scan it again with your kill warrant scanner, and you will find that they have bounties in multiple systems. Here's the thing. In order to pick up bounties in multiple systems, you have to actually visit the systems that have
Frameshift charge
he's trying to run.
Scan detected.
He's deployed hard points, so he's not going anywhere. There's my kill warrant. Data, and I will shoot. Oh, he's down. He's gone. Boo. You need a wake scanner to scan high wakes, so I can't do anything about that. I'm back in
Frameshift drive charging.
space.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, sometimes wanted guys will just not want to fight. They'll just want to, you know. Those conflict zones, I haven't played with them. Oh, sorry, I'm yawning. Those conflict zones, I haven't played with them. Is he talking? That's direct. All right, we've got Luca Reese, Imperial Clipper, headed my way. Let's make it easy for him. He says I've got cargo, but I totally don't have any cargo. But he's wanted, and he's going to try to frameshift interdict me. Oh, so here's the thing. This is why you can avoid combat. If you're in frameshift like this, in order to grab you, a guy has to frameshift interdict you. And here's what it looks like. Yes. So I can try to track the escape vector, and it's basically a little mini game that lets me help escape the fight, basically. Or I can just set my throttle to 0 and submit. And I'm gonna take this guy out. I have cargo. It's ammunition mostly. Is he gonna start shooting? He's probably gonna start shooting.
Under attack.
But I'm gonna get some data on it.
Target shields offline.
I knocked his shields out. So eagles are improved. Chaff. So I might actually take some damage here.
Offline. Taking damage.
Oh, the heck.
Internal damage. Enemy compromised.
So they've compromised my canopy. They've breached my canopy.
Online.
And that happens.
Pressure alert. Target shields offline. Atmospheric failure.
So now I'm on...
Under attack.
This is going to be real close.
Frameshift charge detected. Shields online. Cabin pressure alert.
But I've got 25 minutes. You'll notice that my HUD doesn't show up where the thing is breached. It's pretty cool.
Target shields offline.
I'm still actually targeting him. You can see it. But he's going down.
Detected. Cabin pressure alert.
Boom.
Target destroyed.
71,000 credits. And usually they'll drop some material and stuff. But since we've been playing for so long, I think I'll just not worry about it. No crimes. Alright. I need to get to Goldstein Port. Fortunately, I've got 23 minutes to go, so let's...
Cannot comply. Frameshift drive charging.
Where is it? Yeah, my canopy is busted, so now I can't see where I'm going. It's amazing attention to detail. I didn't think I'd get to show you guys that. Yeah.
4, 3, 2, 1. Engage. Atmospheric failure.
Yeah. So I'm going to set my speed kind of low. I've got plenty of time, and the other thing that's worth noticing is that if I go to inventory and go to synthesis, I actually have materials that I can refill my life support pretty easily. So I've got 39 reloads available, which will give me another 25 minutes of running time. So I need to find my way to this place using only my compass down near my radar. Oh, so cool. And that guy was worth 71,000 credits, so that's pretty significant.
Cabin pressure alert.
I know, Victor. Oh, another cool attention to detail bit. When this happens, your character puts on a helmet. It's really the coolest. Come on, we're getting close. It's probably that little star dot right there. You see it? That bright spot in the sky? That's probably light reflecting off the Goldstein port. We're getting close. Speed's in reasonable levels.
Cabin pressure alert.
Oh, so cool. And, oh, by the way, if you run out of oxygen, you die. And I had a friend, this happened to a friend of mine, and he's like, yeah, it's actually kind of gruesome. So we're going to try to avoid that from happening.
Atmospheric failure.
But that guy did a pretty good job. I mean, he was pretty heavily armed. He knocked out my shields pretty strongly.
Romeo, India, Charlie, be aware. Weapon fire restrictions are in place in this sector.
Yeah, I know. So there's a lot of different voices for the different space stations. And in addition to that, it seems like there's a bit of like an ethnic thing going on where like the Imperial space stations kind of have this really nice lilty English accent. And then you got, you know, much more plain accents for a lot of other places. It's really, really nice sounding. There's a lot going on. I'm going to request docking. You have to request docking or you will be trespassing and...
Cabin pressure.
Landing permission granted. Clear to land on pad 4-4.
Yeah, 44. So there's probably 44 pads in this space station. And you get assigned one, depending on your ship size and stuff like that. There's different size pads for different size ships. This is a small ship, so it requires a small pad. I've gotten lucky sometimes. I've gotten a big pad.
Observing steady traffic in this sector. Caution is advised.
Yeah. Alright, there's my pad over there. To bring out my landing gear. Speed up a little bit.
Landing gear deployed.
So it's also a crime to loiter over someone else's landing pad. They will knock out your landing privileges if you do that. Alright. So this has been Elite Dangerous. I hope you guys, anyone watching this, finds this as interesting as I have. It is my favorite game right now.
Landing complete.
Like, in the sense that it's the one that I'm dumping the most time into. They got me on the oxygen umbilical. I'll fix my ship load. And we will call it a night. There's a lot going on in this game. It is definitely worth checking out. If you liked... There we go. If you liked any space sim games before, you'll like this. Here's the shipyard, real quick before we go. So this is a high-tech station. It has 13 available ships in the shipyard. They go from this tiny little Sidewinder, which is what you start with, slowly up in size and durability. Diamondback Scout. There are ships that are designed to serve mostly as passenger vessels. The Dolphin and the other luxury liner classes are the only ones that can get luxury class passenger cabins. You've got a bunch of different ships that have different internal and optional parts. The Asp Explorer is a ship that I bought recently and have been building up that one. You've got federal ships that require you to be allied with the federal organization in order to buy them. You can see that the costs are getting very high. The Fer-de-Lance is a very nice vessel from the original Elite. And so are the Python and the... well, I don't know about the Federal Corvette. But yeah, you can actually get a Federal Corvette, which has 2 extra crew seats. And just to kind of give you a sense of scale, this is a 900-ton ship. The Beluga Liner is another luxury cruiser. It's 950 tons. Let's just compare that to the humble Sidewinder, which is a 25-ton hull mass. I got a couple of storage ships. I've got a Type 6 transporter that I'm setting up as a mining machine, and an Asp Explorer that I'm setting up as an explorer. So there's a lot to do in this game. If you're patient, you can do it all with one ship, or you can pick up your own ships and do all kinds of stuff like that. It's... oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're going to take that money, thank you. And I'll also drop off the stuff I picked up off of the surface. Let's see, where are those? It was some gold? Yeah, there's some gold. Alright. And there was a mineral. Yeah, this stuff. Ghost Slurite. Alright. Oh, and by the way, the minerals are not just, like, minerals. Like, they actually have a lot of cool stuff to mine. Like, methane clathrate and methanol monohydrate. I've seen other stuff, too, like, you know, volatile chemicals and stuff. It's really neat. There's a lot of variety. Anyway, so this has been Elite Dangerous. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have enjoyed this as much as I am. Check it out if you have some extra cash and are looking for a fun time sink. I've enjoyed it a lot, and if you've enjoyed this video, maybe you'll like this too. Alright, have a good one. Catch you all later.